No, it wasn't.
Are you serious?
Oh, we just filmed about 20 minutes and it wasn't recording. It's so annoying.
This always happens.
I know. Amateurs. G'day guys, Cam Wild Touring. Boss is out here with me. Tiff put a call out on social media asking if anyone had any questions or anything they'd like us to answer, sort of in relation to the trip we've just done from Perth to Territory and back.
Yep. So this is sort of a wrap up of the last 6 weeks video series that we've done.
Yeah. So there are more videos to come. Where we're up to in that series at the moment, Tiff and the kids are flown out.
Yep.
And I'm heading home on my lonesome. So there's some episodes from that are really cool. Well, I think they are. That does mark the end of the family side of the trip. So we thought we'd do a nice little wrap up, talk about how many Ks we've done, how much things cost, and rattle off a few questions and answers for you.
Yep.
So we'll start with figures, hey?
So we'll get straight into it. So the total kilometres that we travelled was 10,890 kilometres.
In 6 weeks, which is crazy.
So how much of that was you driving home though? Like
4,000.
Yeah.
So we did 6,000 Ks in 5 weeks together to get up to Darwin.
Yeah.
And that pace was okay.
That was great. I think that worked really well.
Yeah. But then I've done 4,000 Ks home, which was crazy. But that was to get home because we're having some issues with Brody and stuff, and we'll tell you about that in a minute.
Yep. So total nights was 46. Accommodation costs was $2,117, which is $46 a night or $322 a week. And so when I break that up, there were 26 different campsites that we stayed at. 30% were free camps, 25% national park campsites, and 45% were van parks / station stays, hip camps, etc. I've bundled them all together.
Yeah, so we probably stayed in more paid accommodation than we normally would on this one.
Yeah, and when we say 30% free camps, we mean like completely free,
Yeah.
not like these off. Like that, I feel like that term is used quite
interchangeably
loosely now.
Yeah, people call free camping off-grid camping. That's cool. When we talk about free camping, we mean
There was
literally
no
cost. Yeah.
Yep. So shopping, we didn't actually track our shopping expenses.
Good.
But I would estimate that it was roughly the same as probably home, roughly $200 a week. Sometimes more, sometimes less.
Yeah, some really remote locations were super expensive for some things, but funny, like even in Alice Springs, you'd pay like, I don't know, say it was $6 for a lettuce or something, but then it'd be like $1 for a pack of Tim Tams.
Yeah, other things were cheaper.
Yeah. So it all kind of worked out. We just ate more Tim Tams when we were there.
Yeah. But remember we did an IGA shop in Alice Springs and it was $400 and something. It was insane.
For like a small trolley.
Yeah. Total fuel cost was $4,410, which is $95 a day or $670 a week.
Again, that's because we smashed heaps of kilometres in a fairly short window. It's that drive home doing 4,000 Ks in a week that's thrown these figures out.
Yeah, if you were travelling full time or on the road, like that's what you do, you wouldn't be spending anywhere near that much on fuel. That's craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd never be travelling that fast.
Because we've nearly averaged out at just under 2,000 Ks a week. If you were travelling full time, you might be doing like 600 Ks a week.
Yeah.
So like, a third as much.
Yeah. So our economy was 18.41 litres per 100 kilometres.
Now that's hitched and unhitched. So when we get to town, we'd unhitch and drive around and do stuff. So that's an average for the entire trip. To break that down quickly, our car without the van on the back averages around 11 litres per 100. With the van on, it pretty much sits consistently around 20. The worst we ever saw on that entire trip over a tank was 22.5. Yeah. So it's fairly consistent. It's pretty good on fuel. We're pretty happy with that.
We didn't calculate like the most expensive and the cheapest fuel, but I think from the top of my head the most expensive was either in Kakadu or Warburton on the Great Central.
About $2.40, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what the cheapest was.
Yeah, so if I calculate accommodation, fuel and food, it comes in at $1,192 a week. This doesn't include eating out or any of the tourist things.
Permits, national park passes.
So I would say it was probably closer to $1,500 a week.
Yeah.
And then that also doesn't include insurance or internet or car maintenance or any of the normal bills or anything. So,
but like we said, you can do it cheaper. We weren't, because this was a short trip, we weren't too concerned about budgeting too hard. If this was a 12-month trip, there's no way we'd be bleeding money like this.
No.
We'd be a little bit tighter on everything. And certainly not doing Ks like that, like I've said.
Yeah.
So you can do it cheaper, but
Definitely.
it's noticeably more expensive than the last time we went on an extended trip, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fuel was more, accommodation was more. We talked about this in the Darwin episode, I think.
Yeah, we did.
Previously, like the most we'd ever paid for a caravan park was like 70, 80 bucks a night.
Yep.
On this trip, a few caravan parks were 100 bucks a night.
They were, yep.
They weren't anything special for 100 bucks a night either.
No. Yeah. So our highlights. So I think for both of us, or all of us actually, Chloe included.
Yeah.
Territory Day was awesome. So glad that we were in the NT for Territory Day. It's like once
wicked.
in a lifetime. It was amazing. Just the atmosphere, the excitement, like the whole town gets involved and excited, and it was great.
A little bit like, I was a little bit anxious, and I don't know, it just feels really weird to go buy a heap of explosives and then you're allowed to let them off anywhere in town. It feels like something you did when you were 15 or 16 making sparkler bombs or something like that. Great, now my video has been flagged by AFP. Nah, but I don't know, it just felt, there was an element of it was just exciting. Yeah.
Do you remember we went and bought the fireworks in the morning?
Yeah.
And then we got back to Catherine Farm Stay, which is where we're staying. And we're sitting out the front, and Cam's sitting in his camp chair with these 2 big boxes of fireworks on his lap.
You know when you're 6 years old?
Tapping them. And
you know when you're 6 years old and you get a new toy and you're so excited you bring it to bed? That was me with my 2 big boxes of fireworks on my lap.
Yeah, anyway, there was this couple opposite us in the park, and they actually watched the channel and they said hello, and we're having a chat. They were really lovely. And we spoke to them about Territory Days. We said, "What are you up to tonight? Have you bought fireworks?" And they said, "Oh no, we don't really agree with the night. We're volunteer firefighters from Melbourne, I think they were from." Yeah. Just wasn't something they were really into, because they've probably seen the...
from the perspective of people working in emergency services, people are getting hands blown off, there's spot fires everywhere.
It's a big night.
Yeah, so they weren't into it, which is understandable.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm sitting there with these 2 boxes of fireworks on my lap, tapping away at them, looking at them, rubbing them, caressing them, going, I understand, I get it.
Yeah.
I must look like the biggest
I know, they
goose.
probably walked away saying, "You idiot."
Yeah.
So hopefully you're still watching if you are.
Yeah. I think I just noticed one unsubscribe.
Yeah.
No, they were really cool.
Back to highlights.
Yeah.
Great Central Road was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm probably more of a bush person than you are, but I think you enjoyed it too.
I still loved it as well.
Yeah,
it was proper
wild.
solitude, remoteness, no one around, thousands of Ks of just nothingness. There's something beautiful about that.
Yeah. The camels coming across the road as you're driving down, dingoes at night coming up to your campsite.
Chloe loved it too.
That was amazing for her to experience. I loved it. And then just generally just ticking off bucket list things that we've always wanted to do. I've always wanted, Ulleru's been a huge bucket list item for me, and I loved it. And all the little locations in between, like Mataranka and Daily Waters
the
pub, the whip
and...
show. Just all of those things that you see other people travelling to and
we're same as a lot of you guys. We watch this stuff through the lens and we think that looks amazing, and then it ends up on our bucket list, and then to get to live that and go see all these things that we've been, watching other people's videos about for so long was awesome. Yeah,
it was good. Yep. Okay, so let's dive straight into questions. We might not have answered every single question because there were a few that were a little bit the same, and just there's quite a lot to get through, so we might sort of jot through them pretty quickly.
Thank you for those that did ask questions for getting involved.
So Amy and quite a few, many other people, was the overwhelming top question was, how's Brody doing with his arm? Did we get any answers?
Yeah, thank you for your concern. That's really nice of you.
Yeah.
We were very concerned ourselves too. So to give you, it was a big, long, convoluted story.
And it was, we probably didn't let on in front of the camera, but it was very stressful for us at the time. Yeah.
So what happened was he presented one day with a sore hand, wrist, elbow, shoulder, collarbone. We couldn't tell, just his arm was sore.
Yeah.
And we ended up, over the space of 5 or 6 weeks, we went to like 5 or 6 different doctors, hospital 3 times, 3 x-rays, ultrasounds, blood tests, a whole heap of things.
And he never actually had a fall or anything.
No,
So
no bruising.
We didn't actually know what had happened. He just one day he woke up and he wasn't using his hand, and we had no idea why.
And he was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
He wasn't eating, he wasn't sleeping, he was really unwell.
Yeah, we were rocking up to caravan parks and thinking, oh my God, like our child's going to be screaming all night. And some nights he was.
He was. It was horrible.
It was bad.
We were going through heaps of Panadol and Nurofen. We were just stressed.
Yeah.
It's so hard when they can't tell you what's wrong with them. Every parent's been in that position before, I know.
And you read the label on the Nurofen bottle and it says, not to give for any longer than 72 hours.
Yeah, and here we are.
At this point,
5
we were
weeks
giving
in.
it 5 weeks solid. Yeah.
Anyway, through seeing all these medical professionals over the span of this 5 or 6 weeks, they ascertained that it wasn't a fracture or any sort of like mechanical injury to any moving part. Through x-rays and stuff.
Many x-rays.
Yeah. Blood tests ruled out a bone infection because they thought that might have been a bone infection or cancer or something in the joint there. At some point they were talking about.
Yeah, I remember getting an MRI form and seeing malignancy on the form and freaking out.
Yeah. So we've been seeing a specialist now back in Perth. It was really hard between WA and Northern Territory because they don't all they're not great at talking to each other about things.
Yes.
Where we're at now, they think that it's arthritis.
Yeah, so we've seen a paediatric rheumatologist in Perth who's been amazing.
And there's 2 of them in all of Australia, so...
No, all in WA.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. So, they've been great, and they managed to fit us in. Like, normally it's an 8-month wait list to see them, but they sort of squeezed us in due to his age.
Yeah.
So, it's been, a rheumatologist he's someone that looks after...
joints.
Inflammation of the joints. So they did initially think that it was potentially juvenile arthritis, which is like a lifelong arthritis that you just got to sort of manage as you go. They did rule that out though. Well, they think they've ruled it out. Yeah. Now they are thinking that it's a reactive arthritis. So basically he's had some sort of viral infection, just any other like cold sort of viral infection, and his body has responded to that with a type of arthritis in just one joint.
Strange.
Very
so
strange.
Like an immune response to a virus.
Yeah.
And so the prognosis for that is anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 months to see it go. But he's showing, a lot of improvement. He's in less pain.
Yeah, and the doctor did the rheumatologist did give us like a stronger script for pain relief. So there is stuff that's better than Nurofen to give.
For this,
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, he's doing a hell of a lot better.
Absolutely.
And we're a lot more comforted knowing exactly what's wrong with him, and we've got a plan to treat it if there's flare-ups and stuff. So we're getting there, and he's much happier in himself, and he's coming good. And the likelihood is that once this is gone, that'll be it. You won't see it happen again. There's a small chance that it will reoccur, but he should make a full recovery and be fine. So.
Yeah, but it's very strange that your body can do that.
Your own body does that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it spins me out.
It's crazy. I really feel for people that struggle with lifelong arthritis. It would be terrible.
Yeah.
So Bev asked, do you stress about kids getting hurt or sick while remote?
Yes, a lot.
Yes, we did stress a lot about that. But at the same time, I don't think there's anywhere that's all that remote anymore. Maybe there never was, I'm not sure. But there are health clinics and doctors and nurses almost in every town that you visit now. So what stands out for me was Yulara. They had a little health clinic there and they were absolutely amazing. The nurses, the doctors, they were incredible.
Even all these little Aboriginal communities and stuff out in the middle of nowhere, you'd be surprised how many little nursing stations there are with fantastic, highly trained health professionals that can help you out. There's Telelink, so they can talk to specialists on the other side of the country instantly. It's amazing.
And they might not have the facilities there to treat you, but they will absolutely call up a Royal Flying Doctor Service for you, which was spoken about when we were travelling.
Yeah, they talked about doing it for us.
Yeah, so they will absolutely do anything they can to fix you. Yeah, they're incredible.
So you're stressed like hell about your kids and your own health as well, but there are so many things in place. We're really lucky in Australia. We're really lucky to have the RFDS. We're really lucky to have a wicked healthcare system. And also we're really lucky to have Starlink.
Yes.
Starlink will allow you to, we don't travel with a sat phone anymore, but I can jump on Starlink and I can get a weather report for the area we're traveling to. I can buy my permits to get through. I can check on road conditions. I can book a medical appointment. I can find out where the doctors are. I can contact the authorities and get airlifted out, or there's, there's so much, it's so easy to be in contact with whoever you need to be with Starlink now, so.
Yeah, Starlink's great.
Yeah.
Cameron asked, where do you dispose of grey water if you've had to contain it?
So this trip,
I can't think of anywhere that we had to, like a rule was to contain grey water.
yeah, actually we did. That Gwalia.
Oh yeah.
Gwalia,
Yep.
there was one place that we had to contain our grey water. You know what we did? As you're driving out and we were looking for some bins to dispose of some rubbish, like just one of those pullover areas on the side of the highway, I'll just open the grey water tank and drop it there on the road, on the bitumen or on the gravel or grass or wherever. We use all the...
It's really just water anyway, like with a bit of...
we use the environmentally safe, like we use wool wash for the washing machine, and like the
dishwashing
earth.
liquids, that earth stuff.
Yeah, breaks down. So yeah, no, we haven't really had problems with that. Or I mean, if you're really concerned about it and you don't want to dump it anywhere, that's fine. The next caravan park you go to, most of them have, they either want you to dump grey water on their grass or their trees or whatever, or they've got those little holes that you can stick your waste hose in.
Yeah, we do actually have a grey water tank though, so we can contain it.
Yep.
Yep. Matt asked tips for reversing a large van into tight caravan park bays.
Yeah, so look, I'm not the best person to ask. We do okay. We managed to get the van into some places, but
you do have a favourite side you like to reverse into.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is a thing, but Tiff knows now. Like we both have this system where when she's looking at a caravan park map, she'll know to get me so that the sites. She'll navigate me around the caravan park so the site's on my right-hand side, the driver's hand side.
If we can, yeah.
So the site's here, I'll drive past it and then I'll back in. And the reason is, I'll stick my head out the window and I can jackknife the van that way so that I can see the back of the van, I can see the site, I can find a little point of reference to stick the van close to, like, whether it's a bush or a post or whatever. I can see everything. I don't like doing it the other way on my left.
But then you always get me to jump out and I stand at the back in your blind spot where you can't see me and yell, come back, the usual arguments that we have.
And I've got the cameras, the Safety Dave cameras, but they suck. I can't believe, they are terrible, eh? The resolution on those cameras, I don't know if I got an older model, it's terrible. I need to put something better for the next car. And then also I'll give you the little Oricom handheld UHFs and I'll talk to Tiff on the UHF while we're backing in somewhere.
Sorry, I've just had a notification to say someone's at the front door.
I'll go get it.
Yeah, do you want to just run out the back?
Well, that's ironic. We were just talking about
I know.
Oricom.
That is so weird.
Yeah, that's the UHF for the new car.
What on earth?
I know. What are the chances of that? Where were we at?
But yeah, reversing a large van into the bay, we were also going to say we use the UHF
Yeah,
radios.
little handheld radios. I give Tiff one. Yeah.
That is bizarre.
I know.
Heather asked, I want to know the best setup for beginners who aren't experienced in towing. So I think if you're starting out and you've never towed a van before or never had a van, definitely jump on those places where you can hire them.
Yeah, like Camplify.
Yep.
And I mean, for us, we didn't jump straight into towing a 20-foot van. We had natural progression for us was to have a little camper trailer, a bigger camper trailer, a hybrid, a van, a bigger van. That's just the way it went. So we didn't jump straight into the deep end, and we're quite comfortable now towing a van that size. So maybe what you could do to replicate that is you could start with hiring a smaller camper trailer and get comfortable with that, and then work your way up. Otherwise, there's towing courses and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is probably a good time to mention that that moment in with the hitch.
Oh yeah, we're in.
No matter how many times you've towed, you can still have a total brain fart and look like a complete beginner.
And I did this day. So we're at Kings Canyon Caravan Park, and I backed the van up into the bay, and I was going to unhitch the car, and for whatever reason, I couldn't work it out at the time, but I felt like it was bound up. And it just wouldn't unhitch. So I've got a DO35 hitch. It's one button, and you can unhitch the van. But for whatever reason, it wasn't unhitching.
Yeah. So you got me to jump in the car, and you were saying, go forward, reverse, like it needs to be unbound. And then you got the hammer out, and you were bloody whacking it. And
everyone in the caravan's looking at me like, oh, this bloke's having some dramas. Anyway, this big South African fella comes over. And he says, oh, what's the problem? And I said, oh, it's bound up. I don't know what's going on. Like, it's metal on metal. It just won't unhitch. It's lifting the whole car up as I wind the jockey wheel up. And he goes, oh, yeah, and the hammer's not helping? Nah, the hammer's not helping. And he's like, oh, have you tried pressing this button? The one button on the DO35 hitch, pop, comes off.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, thank you, man.
Anyway, we laughed it off and we went about our business. But like literally 4 weeks later, we were parked up next to him in Darwin and we recognised him and Cam went out and said, oh, hey, do you remember me? And he didn't remember, but...
and I said, oh, I was the bloke that was struggling to unhitch the van.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, yeah, you were the beginner, first time towing your van.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
First time unhitching. And anyway, that's been the joke ever since. Yeah. So Steve asked, does Tiff like to drive or tow the van? To be honest, we've just never done it that way. You've always been the driver. I've always been the navigator / childminder / snack provider.
Yeah, she just likes to drive from the passenger seat.
Yeah.
And also we play this game where Tiff's the navigator, so there's a bit of excitement, like we could end up anywhere.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you'd manage doing my job, providing, getting the kids settled, providing the iPads and sorting out the arguments. You wouldn't be able to handle it.
Probably not.
But I tell you what, when we're home and going out and about the day during, doing family activities and stuff, it always makes me drive.
Yeah, I've got like this chartered driver sort of setup going on, like UberX. I sit in the back, she drives.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
We don't really.
No. Sharon asked, was there many dump points and water fill points?
There was less in the territory than we used to, hey?
Yeah, I don't think there was as many, but...
WA definitely has more.
But in saying that, we just look on Wikicamps, so... that's our Bible for us.
We did struggle though, one or two times.
Alice Springs
was the worst, I think.
The worst. Like that is a huge town and
we
couldn't find water anywhere except for the servos, but the servos were all like backed up with people.
It was quite stressful.
Trying to get fuel and we had the van on.
Yeah, remember I wanted to fill the tanks on the van, so we pulled up at this BP that's got water, but the water is right out on the front of the highway. And there were 2 or 3 caravans and vans already pulled up. And I pulled up behind them and I realised my van's still on the highway. People are honking their horns. So I tried to reverse out to keep going. And there's people right up behind me. It was stressful.
Yeah, even the dump point, there was only one in all of Alice Springs and it was chockers at the time.
And you've got that was around the time of the Fink Desert race as well. So there's probably thousands of people coming through and there's one dump point.
Yep. Kim asked what did and didn't work well on the trip.
Oh, well, the car and the van...
we'll go into that a little bit further,
okay.
but,
they went
further
really
down,
well.
But they both went really well.
Yeah.
And this is probably the first trip that we had that you didn't have some sort of malfunctioning camera or
no, which is ironic because we started this video with a major malfunction.
No.
But no, almost every trip I lose a GoPro, smash a GoPro, lose a drone, SD card corrupts and I lose like footage that I really needed. Microphones don't record audio, something happens.
Speaking of microphones, that little fluffy thing that you have on your GoPro.
I'll show some overlay footage of this little thing, but it's a sound deadener for the top of the mic on my GoPro, and I lost it 3 times.
So first was on the Great Central Road. You went to make me film out the window as we're travelling, and then I brought the GoPro back in the window, and you were like, you said, "Where is it?" And I thought I'd lost it out the window. So.
This is like the primary camera I'm using to film this whole series, and I'd lost the microphone cover.
So now Cam's saying,
I need it.
This is it. This is the whole trip's ruined. You might as well just turn around home right now. So I felt bad. I got out the car. I'm walking down the Great Central Road at foot speed, trying to find this tiny black cover.
Yeah. And then
5 minutes later,
I realised it's in the car still.
It was in the car.
Sorry, babe.
Yep.
So that was the first time. And then we're walking to Wongi Falls, and same thing. I thought I'm looking at the camera and I'm like, oh crap, I've lost the mic cover. And I'm looking, and then I thought I might just check my pocket, and it was in my pocket.
Oh, was it? I thought it was on the footpath.
Was it?
Oh, I don't know. That might have been another time.
Yeah,
it
maybe.
was on the footpath.
It happened
somewhere.
a few times.
But then
the
fishing,
funniest one.
Yeah.
I'm on the what's that river? Kakadu River.
It was in Kakadu.
We're in Kakadu. We're on this like croc infested river, so I'm giving it like a pretty safe distance, and I'm flicking a lure out there, and it's starting to go dark, and I've been smashed with mozzies and stuff, and I'm ready to go, and then I've got the camera on a little tripod pointed at me as I'm flicking some lures, and as I've drawn the rod back like this and I've gone to give it a flick, the lure has grabbed the microphone cover off the camera, and I hadn't noticed, and I've gone poof like this, and the camera went flying. It stopped right on the edge of the water. It didn't get wet, but the microphone cover was missing. And I'm like, no way. my lure has got the microphone cover. It's 100 metres out there now. So I'm winding this thing in really slowly and carefully because I need that mic cover. I'm thinking this will be the time that a barramundi jumps on.
Did you get that on footage? Or were you too stressed?
I think I might have.
Yeah.
I mean, the camera would have been knocked over. I'll have a look, we'll go
Yeah.
through. Anyway, I pull this lure in 100 metres through this croc-infested river, and there's my microphone cover on the end of it. So I packed up and thought, that'll do me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to like glue that microphone cover on.
Backstreet Garage, what drone are you using?
Oh, I'm using a Mavic, a DJI Mavic Air 2S, and it's a brilliant drone. I've had it for, this one's probably lasted me near on 2 years, I think.
Yeah, you love it, don't you?
It's been really good. It's small enough to be compact. It goes good in wind. It'll fly far enough, high enough. It records in 4K, does everything you want. All the follow me modes are quite clever now.
Yeah.
I'm wrapping it up.
Yeah. Dell asked, what's the go with the van? All sorted, or are you looking to upgrade?
So the van actually went really well this trip.
Yeah, and I do feel like we are now all sorted with it. Like it's performing really well now.
Yep.
We've spent a lot of money and time to get it to a place where we are happy with it.
Yeah, and I need to reiterate that.
Yeah.
We're happy with it now after we spent thousands of dollars and many, many, many hours getting it to where it is.
Yep.
And even having said that, after this trip, we're really happy with it. We still have quite a long warranty list that it's going in for this week.
It's all minor stuff, but when I wrote the email to, give them the heads up what was wrong, I was like, wow, there's actually quite a lot of stuff on this
There's
list.
a lot. And
but it's just lots of little minor things, and I think that's probably pretty normal stuff.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I'm more annoyed about all the major issues, well, what I deem major issues we had earlier.
Yeah, but that's all in the past now.
Yeah.
The stove, we had quite a few dramas with the stove, the Swift stove.
I'll show you some footage. I took some footage one morning and it never ended up in a video, so I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it, because I know a lot of people have the same stove.
Yeah, it's almost in every caravan, so I'd love to know if other people have the same issues with it. You'll see.
Hey, I was going to ask you all, these Swift stoves, they're obviously pretty common for most makes of caravans, I think. Can anyone tell me what they're doing to stop this happening? So these little rubbers have torn off both sides. That one's pulled the thread out, that one's snapped the rubber. So that this metal, what are they called, Tiff? Frame. Just bounces around now off-road, going everywhere. What are people doing to keep these things secured, or can you get replacement parts for them? I'm going to take it back for warranty because it's still under warranty, obviously. But yeah, all the little rubbers have split and broken and just bounces around all over the place.
And two of the burners don't work.
Oh yeah.
And the seals come off.
Yeah, two of the burners, that burner and that burner have just stopped working, like the igniter. So I've got to manually light those two. Seals are coming off. These are like the most common stove in caravans, and ours is just literally falling apart. It hasn't had that much use. It's only a pretty new caravan.
Pointed Nowhere asked, why have all the Willow stickers been removed? We've had this question heaps, so we never mentioned it, we just sort of did it.
Didn't want to make a big deal out of it. We're not drama queens. But I mean, I think it's fairly obvious why. We've been unhappy with the van, and we've been unhappy with the brand, and we just don't want to inadvertently be promoting something. We don't want other people to be like, oh, these guys are using it and they're happy, so we'll go buy one.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, no, that's fine. But but also I think it was a little bit therapeutic for us. Like, we removed them and then we were like, yeah, we really like this.
We just didn't want to go out and see Willow stickers on it.
Yeah, I think it was more for us than it was for anything else.
Yeah, it's no longer a Willow now, it's just our van.
It's our van, yeah.
But we are actually happy with it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dawn Wright asked, is the large battery system solar panels still not enough to run the aircon all day without having to go to caravan parks? Do you think you need more power to be more off-grid?
No way. I don't think you need more. I mean, yeah, you could sneak a little bit more battery capacity and maybe another panel or two up there. Am I going to? No. It's enough to run for 6 or 8 hours, which gets you through the hottest part of the day. If I put a bigger battery bank in, yeah, you can run it for longer. But then you've got a bigger
deficit.
You've got a bigger deficit that you've got to recharge. And if you're off grid, you're only recharging from solar. I've got a 22-foot van and the entire roof is covered in solar. There's not that much more you can fit. So I think there's a sweet spot for the size of the battery bank and the size of the solar panels.
Yeah, I think these days, I think people get a little bit carried away thinking they need a really high battery system,
Yeah.
like high powered.
I guess it depends what you want to do. I know we're not going to go much bigger. I don't regret going the size I did. I think it works really well for what we're doing. We've been running the aircon for, from 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 p.m. at night. And we can do that like every day if we get good solar conditions and stuff. So it works really well.
Yeah, I think like some of the reason why we went to caravan parks so we could run the aircon 24/7. A lot of it was also to do with sleeps and Brodie. Like the aircon, like running it 24/7 provides like quite a nice white noise, and
So we can be a bit louder.
and at a time where his sleep was already struggling, and it seemed to work well for us. We were like, yes, let's keep with the aircon running 24/7.
Absolutely.
But you couldn't do that off the battery because you can't run the aircon at night when you're not getting solar in.
Yeah.
Jason asked, how does the aircon go once the van temperature gets up during the day?
Yeah, I have heard that some van aircons struggle once it's over like 35, 40 degrees or whatever. We haven't noticed that, but we haven't had like really stinking hot days. It was getting up to 35, 36.
Yeah, I thought the aircon worked really well, but the
Same.
only thing I found was it's very different from a house. Like as soon as you turn that aircon off, it's immediately hot in the van.
Yeah.
I didn't find like it would keep the house cool for another couple, the van cool for another few hours, or
Yeah.
it was immediately hot.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe there's just less insulation, and I think our van's quite well insulated, but probably less than a house. I don't know.
Yeah. Bostock asked, husband wants to know how many times did you change the oil in the transmission of the D-Max?
Not at all. So we did 10,000 Ks, which is my service interval. So as soon as I came home, it went into AGD Auto, who's been doing all my servicing work and maintenance and stuff for me.
And it was also serviced just before we left too.
Yeah, so it was pretty much bang on that interval, that oil change interval. But I did change an air filter up in Darwin, so about 5,000 Ks in. And that's because after doing the Great Central and a few other tracks, it was fairly dusty, and that's one thing I like to keep on top of.
Yep. Corey asked, would love to see an itinerary breakdown of where you went, how many days at each location. There was a few other people that asked that similar question, so I will make a spreadsheet of the itinerary and how many nights we spent at each and where we stayed, and you'll put it in the description. So it will be on a Google Drive, so I'll do that. Catherine asked, outside of the time you did this trip, what other time would you recommend? I think
Dry season.
the dry season, so anywhere between May and October is generally pretty good.
It depends what you want to see. If you want to see more, if you want to see the waterfalls in full flow and more water and stuff, then stick to the shoulder seasons.
Yeah.
But then you risk things being shut because there might still be crocs in them. Or
Yeah, and then even when we were there in July, they still had unseasonable rain in the central Australia. So
But if you leave it until
change.
August, September, October, then it's starting to get a little bit hotter, and there's less water in all the for the waterfalls and in some of the creeks and stuff.
Yeah.
So any time between.
I think July was perfect because there were quite a few places in Litchfield and Kakadu that had just opened.
Yeah, in terms of that, yeah.
Yeah.
The school holiday period's busy though.
Yes. Brian asked, how much time did you spend beforehand planning the trip?
None.
None for him.
Yeah.
I did all of the generally when we go on a family trip, I do all of the itinerary and the planning and everything, and you're just the driver.
I think a bit more goes into it than that. I get the car and the caravan and
Not true.
and all that kind of gear ready. That's why we don't break down or have things fall apart or get stuck in town waiting for parts.
So how much time? Oh, look, I'm pretty slow at this stuff. Like I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I'll spend hours and hours and hours like obsessing over minor details.
Yeah, you do.
And initially we had a completely different trip planned out, remember? We were going to go Perth to
South Australia.
the central down to South Australia, and I'm glad we didn't because they had heaps of rain through there and it was freezing cold. But
we still really want to do that trip, but we'll do it later in the year.
But I had that entire trip planned out, and then right at the last minute, like a week before we left, I was like, hey, maybe we should go up to the Northern Territory and I'll fly home.
Yeah.
And then I had to redo the whole trip. So hours and hours it took.
So how long does it take? Weeks out, months out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've also travelled where literally like you're in one location and then you start researching the next location. We've done that before.
Yeah, when we were travelling WA, yeah.
The only time you can't do that is school holidays. School holidays is you've got to have your accommodation booked in around Christmas time or school holidays.
Even these days, like it's so busy on the road, I think you'd struggle to go from place to place. Like you might not get into the places that you want to go to.
Yeah.
Loopy Fruit
Tommy.
Tommy, just curious, what was a big shock or meh really kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, okay. So what was sort of like underwhelming? Probably Devil's Marbles. I know that annoyed a few people. I don't get it.
I don't know, like I can't think of anywhere that I went that I was disappointed in.
No, I wasn't disappointed in anything.
If anything, you were more annoyed about it than I was, but just
The
how
crowds?
busy it was everywhere. Like
It was so busy.
yeah, especially Litchfield. Litchfield was crazy.
Yeah.
And
You guys might have noticed actually through the videos that I was angry dad a few times about how busy I was at places.
he had to edit out so many scenes where he was like, "This is so busy," and he's now made. We'll show you, but
Yeah.
we've made this funny little like busy.
Here's a few of those moments.
Yeah.
I don't know, I kind of had in my mind we're going somewhere a little bit, a bit more sort of private and remote. This is not really what I expected.
It's busy.
Yeah.
It's a popular little spot. Surprised, we're just seeing lots of tour buses.
Tour buses. There's a massive coach pulled up full of people. Coaches and people triple parked. We're really hoping to get a spot there. Apparently it's really popular. You can't book it.
They're all booked out.
If you're not at Mataranka by 8:30, you're not getting the spot. Oh, we're up early in an effort to try and beat the crowds. People have rocked up with a booking and found people in their bays. And it was just so packed. And it looked packed. It was ram-packed. How's it look? Busy. Busy around this side, isn't it? Geez, it's quite busy, babe. So it does get busy here.
It is busier down here though, isn't it?
Yeah. So it looks really busy. It is really busy. By far the busiest. Obviously quite a touristy thing. And there's heaps of people. It's hard to get a car park. The car park is packed. Couldn't even get a car park. I couldn't get a car park. The walk from where I've had to park to the car park is longer than the walk to the waterhole.
Oh my goodness.
Thousands of cars.
Like more cars than I would see at like
The Royal Show.
The Perth Royal Show. Like, oh my goodness.
Probably swim somewhere else, huh?
We're pretty realistic like that.
Maybe a bit pessimistic.
Sort of on that note, Anna's asked, is there a place that we wouldn't go back to? I'm going to say no, but at the same time, I'm not going to go back and do that trip for that exact trip, like across Great Central and up Stewart Highway. I'm not going to do that for 5 to 10 years, I think.
Yeah,
because we've done it.
I think Central Australia, like Uluru and Kings Canyon and that area, I wouldn't rush back there anytime soon. But I'm only saying that because it's just so out of the way. Like it's literally the middle of Australia.
And there's not a lot of things between points of interest.
Yeah, like that road up from Alice to Darwin, there was not much to see. It was.
I mean, we did pretty much everything you can between there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing like the West Coast or something, you can drive up and see 5% of it, drive back, see 10% of it. Like there's always things you missed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like up the Stewart Highway, there's literally like, it's like Devil's Marbles, what else was there? Daily, Banker.
Yeah.
There's just like certain things that you look at, and there's not much else in between. That's what it felt like.
So
to
I
me.
think like because we're gonna travel Australia in 2025.
Yep.
For a year. I don't think we'll go and do the centre again. I think we'll stick sort of around the outside of Australia.
Yeah, but I will go back and do the centre next year, but do different things. Like I'll go do Simpson Desert. I want to do the Amberdell. I want to do the Canning Stock route. So I'd go to, but they're not really caravanning trips, not for us anyway.
Michael asked, how long would you recommend to see Kakadu properly? I think...
Depends how much is open, Tiff.
Yeah, it does. It depends how much is open, but I think anywhere around a week, 7 days is probably good.
3 nights to 7 nights, somewhere inside that.
Yeah, so we did it in
3 nights.
4. I was meant to be 4, but it was 3 in the end, and that was too rushed. We missed a lot.
But a lot of stuff was shut.
Yeah, it was. But there was other stuff that we'd missed.
Okay.
Yeah. I would like to go back to Kakadu again.
Yeah, I would too. I want to see Jim Falls and stuff.
Yeah. So I would say anywhere from like 4 nights to 7 and you'd be pretty good. Jason asked, what size budget did you set out to do this trip? We didn't really have a budget.
Not for this one. So
no, because it was such a short-term trip, we didn't really budget too much for it.
No, but like we said, we spent somewhere around $1,500 a week. You could do it. You could do it cheaper than that if you want. If you travel a little bit slower. We were tight on time. That's just how it panned out.
Yeah, we did. I pre-booked a lot of accommodation because I had everything sort of planned pretty well. I pre-booked a lot of it before we left, so that expense was not
Yeah, we
not
didn't
there.
feel it.
Yeah,
Fuel was
yeah.
the biggest expense for us as we were actually travelling.
Pete, how much difference did it make going from the family to just solo trips home? So, so we travelled as a family 5 weeks from Perth to Darwin. I then flew home with the 2 kids, and you travelled solo on the way home.
Yeah,
And we did that because I had to go back to work.
yeah, time constraints.
Yeah, kids had to go back to school, that sort of stuff.
Now, I'd planned to take more like 2 weeks to come home, but Tiff had to go back to work, and Brody, he couldn't be put in childcare. The grandparents were all away and doing stuff for the moment, so someone needed to be home to look after Brody. So that's why I ended up doing 4,000 Ks in a week.
You came home sooner than was expected.
Yeah, but how did it change? Oh, look, in terms of filming, it's so funny. When we film as a family, when I'm trying to film stuff and make a YouTube video, it's so much harder than doing it just by myself or solo or with the boys, because, I mean, it's secondary to being a parent and to also trying to enjoy the moment as well.
Yeah.
They're the primary goals, is to enjoy the trip, be a good parent, be a good husband, feed the kids a decent dinner, and then try and make a YouTube video.
It's so hard to do all of that and film at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just...
So I find it a real struggle.
Especially with a toddler, like you can't tell a toddler to be quiet for a minute because mummy and daddy are filming. So you've got to distract them with something, and you're like, okay, I've got 2 minutes to quickly film this, and then.
But that's why our content, it'll always be like that, because the priority is to enjoy our trip and to enjoy each other's company.
Yeah.
So our videos will always be like that. It's candid moments that we capture when I turn the camera on. It's never going to be really scripted or
polished
or choreographed or, you know what I mean, or set up. It's just always going to be sort of raw and natural, and we're quite happy putting out content like that.
Yeah.
But it was a little bit lonely.
Yeah, but Cam was sending me his fuel receipts on the way home, and every single receipt was like a bag of lollies, chicken and cheese sausage. I was like, my God,
couple
you
of
are
mothers.
spending so much money on bloody
Do you know
servo
what?
food.
But that's how I was staying awake and alert. I was snacking on crap. I was drinking energy drinks and caffeine.
And you started listening to podcasts.
And it was Pete's podcast I started listening to. Pete's got a really good podcast. I binged that, and then I got onto some other podcasts. And yeah, they kept me really, because you're really listening and you're focusing. You don't really do podcasts, do you? We're going to our next trip.
I tell you what, Cam came home and he's like, "Did you know?"
Yeah,
and like
all these useless facts
spitting out
I
all
learned.
these useless facts to me.
Yeah, because I watched some science. I listened to some science-based ones and a few other things. It was cool. So I'm a podcast guy now.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking forward to travelling in 2025 in a nice, quiet 300 series without that buzzing noise. 2 children with their headphones on.
Yeah.
I don't have to listen to screaming iPads or children.
Yeah.
It'll be bliss.
I know, it's going to be good.
John asked, is it true Cam let the Crocs loose in the swimming holes after you guys visited?
Seemed like it.
That was honestly like a running joke for us. Like, it was crazy. 2 locations we just visited, and then there was a croc attack, or a croc was pulled out of the water, a saltwater croc too.
Yeah. On that note, we did the jumping croc tour on the Alligator River in Darwin, and the tour operator was the owner of the company. I've forgotten his name now.
Oh yeah, Steve?
Sean, I think. Pretty sure it was Sean. Anyway, he was a real character, and he'd been doing it for ages, for 20 or 30 years or something like that. And he kept, he would warn you about sticking your arms too close to the side of the boat, and don't put your hand over the edge, keep your kids away from the edge, and all for good reason, because these massive monsters are jumping up and will snap anything that's hanging over the side of the boat. Anyway, I'd forgotten his name, and I wanted to put in a quote from him in my video, so I was Googling what his name was. And when I found his name and I Googled it, this article popped up, and I'll put it on the screen here. But yeah, he actually was attacked by a crocodile on one of his tours. So he's dropped his stick that he feeds the crocs with in the water, and he's leant over the boat to pick it up, and a croc's jumped up and attacked him. So, yeah.
And speaking of news articles, the Daily Mail also did that article about us being at Wangai Falls.
Yeah, Wangai.
Wangai?
Yeah, we still got it wrong.
Wangai.
We're trying.
So that was like, Chloe loved that. She printed it off and she took it into school. So
yeah, and
showed all her friends.
Tiff also printed it off for me and put it in a frame to put in my office.
Yeah.
More just because it was something that Chloe and I will probably talk about forever. The day that her and I were in the news.
Yeah.
I don't know. We thought it was cool.
Yeah. So a few more questions to go. Stephen asked, Do you guys plan on doing some trips to Fraser Island, Stradboat, Moreton, Queensland, etc.? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, definitely. We'll get that way with the van when we're travelling in 2025.
Yeah. I'll end up also doing something over there without the family, because like Tiff's not really into the full driving kind of stuff. So when we go away, it's more sort of sightseeing, camping, sort of relaxed kind of pace. I still would love to get over to Queensland and do some of the harder tracks with just the car, do some full driving. You know, I've got to go do Cape York and all the rest of it.
I think we'll do Cape York with the van, but it will be like a
different trip,
a
though.
tame Cape York.
Yeah.
So this is the most important question of them all. Cam, what is the best beer you've ever had at any brewery?
Do you know, it was at...
Are you going to say
Port Douglas.
Port Douglas?
I can't remember. Is it the Port Douglas Brewery?
No.
I remember the name of the beer. It was called Doug's Courage, and it was an IPA. Port Douglas Brewery. It's on the one that was on the marina.
It's on the water.
I love Port
Douglas. It was a nice location too.
I love Queensland. It's funny that he was asking a question about going to Queensland, and my favourite beer was a Queensland beer.
Oh, that's Hemingway's. Wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know.
No?
I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, that was Queensland beer was my favourite one actually. But I mean, there's a lot that are in that category. I've got a lot of favourites.
And then on the note about like future trips as well. So obviously we've got the new car coming. So you're heading away next week for your final trip with the D-Max.
Yeah, the Kennedy Range series, which will be playing...
Hemingway's Brewery, sorry.
Hemingway's.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm away next week. So you'll see those episodes in a couple of weeks' time. And that's a full drive track along the top of the Kennedy Ranges, which I'm really excited about. That's a trip with a few mates. And then that's the last trip for the D-Max, and it goes up for sale. So we'll be really sad to see it go.
No, not me.
Weren't you?
No.
It's been such a good, reliable car.
It has been really, it's done really well. But
yeah.
No, I won't be sad.
Oh, I will be. And the new 300 Series wagon's going to arrive sometime in October, November.
Oh, we hope so. We're still waiting to hear whether it's actually started yet. So
yeah, the last thing I heard from the dealer a few weeks back was that I'm the next person on the list to get an allocation. So I'm expecting a phone call to say, Cam, your cruiser's on the assembly line. Here's your VIN number or whatever. And
then didn't he say it'll be
6 weeks from that date?
Yeah, it's 6 weeks from that day. So hopefully a few more months.
From what I hear, it's pretty much on track. So there are a lot of people saying that it was going to take years and all the rest of it. I think it's still going to be sort of around that 6-month time frame I was quoted, unless things drastically change. It's not a huge drama if they do. Yeah, we'll just roll with it.
Yep.
Gives us more time to figure out how we're going to pay for it. I'm looking forward to the build series though. I've got some really, really cool things going into this 300. And yeah, it's going to be cool.
Speaking about paying for things, there was a comment as well about, oh, you guys must have won the lottery.
Yeah.
We absolutely have not won the lottery.
We have a massive mortgage and we work 3 jobs.
We do. We still have a house as well. We pay the mortgage, and Cam and I both have full-time, well, not full-time, I'm part-time, but we both work our normal 9-to-5 jobs, as well as have the YouTube as well. So
which is a full-time job as well.
There's 3 incomes there, so yeah.
Yeah, we work really hard. We don't do 40-hour weeks. It's, you know, all night we're working on something. We're doing 100-hour weeks, really, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we enjoy it, so that's why it doesn't really feel like work.
Yeah,
and maybe that's why the way that it's the way that you see it doesn't look like work, because it's fun.
Yeah, and I mean, we are fortunate that I'm not working full time, and you do hope to transition away from your full time job too.
And do this full time.
You hate it so much.
Yeah.
Spencer asked, if you're seen in public, are you guys happy to be recognised and have a chat? Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. And we met lots of people as we were travelling that watched the channel and just wanted to say hey and have a chat, and it was great.
Yeah, we're normal people though, like not. Yeah, sometimes I feel like I let people down when they meet us.
Sometimes we walk away and we think, oh gosh, that must have been a letdown for them.
Yeah, they're going to be unsubscribing. Like for instance, we were in, was it Catherine or?
Catherine, yep.
Yeah, Catherine, and we were doing a big shop, and we got to Catherine, and we don't really travel with much cash or change or anything on us, and because of the way the town is and stuff, their trolleys, you got to put like the $1 coin in or the $2 coin.
Yeah, that's pretty common these days.
Well, it's not where we live.
Oh, it is.
It's unusual
at some
for
of
us.
the supermarkets, like Aldi always have that.
Okay.
You've got to put the coin in to release the trolley from the next one.
That's unusual for me.
We didn't, because you don't go shopping.
True.
We didn't have any coins. and we actually needed a lot of shopping.
And like I'm probably like a typical dad, and I'm like, oh, I'll just carry it all. Like 30 bags strapped over me and all the rest of it.
Yep.
And so
So we had a full grocery shop. I was pushing the pram. Chloe had 2 bags.
Yeah.
We had stuff spilling out of the pram.
Brodie's-
I was also carrying 2 bags.
Brodie's ripping stuff off the shelves, having a tantrum. Chloe's just split a bag open over the floor. Like it was just a bit of a.
It was chaos.
It was a shit show.
It was the middle of Woolworths, and then someone walked past and they said, "Oh, Cam, love the channel."
Yeah, and I was like in the middle of a rant or dealing with a tantrum
Telling
or
a
something.
child off.
So I probably come across like a knob, but. And then, do you know that happened in the bottle the other day? Because we've both got colds. We've come back to Perth,
Yeah,
and
it was sick.
it's bloody cold and wintry, and we both got head colds. And I was in the bottle stocking up for this next trip, buying a few beers and stuff, and someone said g'day, and I must have looked so groggy and out of it because I was still half asleep and battling this head cold.
But yes, always happy to say hello, and not a problem for you to come up and
Yeah,
say
we
hello.
get a buzz off it.
Yeah, love it.
We enjoy it.
If anything, I think to myself, because I'm often told that I have resting bitch face as well. So I think to myself, like, oh gosh, did I look happy?
Yeah, I always feel like this guilt that we don't live up to people's expectations.
Yeah. Sharon asked, would you ever sell your home and travel Australia full time, or would you like to keep your home? I wouldn't. I think you probably would.
I could go either way. I'm a bit of a gypsy, and I get bored coming back to home. I could quite happily travel indefinitely, but at the same time, you don't want to, and I'm okay with that because I think it's.
I think we have a pretty good balance now. We still have a home, and we come home and do all the normal stuff, and Chloe still has the security of school, and she gets to play sports and have solid friendships.
Yeah, she doesn't want to travel full time either.
I don't think so. No.
I always ask her because I'm interested. I'm like, did you really enjoy that trip? And she'll say, yeah. And I'll say, do you want to keep going? Do you want to just pull out of school and we'll teach you on the road and we'll travel in the caravan and you can make new friends everywhere you go and spend all the time with mum and dad? And she says, no, I want to go back to school.
Yeah, we've actually had to butter her up a lot about this trip we've got coming up in 2025 because we've told her it's a full year. So we've pre-warned her that she'll, likely she'll have her birthday in the caravan.
That's what she's most stressed about.
And she'll likely have Christmas in the caravan. And she's really annoyed that she won't get to have a birthday party with her friends.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all minor things, but...
And she's worried Santa won't find her in the caravan and the Tooth Fairy won't find her in the caravan.
Yeah, she really enjoys school.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like having a home. And having the base.
And I like the balance too. I wish we could do more of the family trips. We don't do enough of them. But I do also enjoy coming home from the family trip, pottering around the house a little bit, and then I plan my next trip like we are now. Like I'm planning the lads trip up to Kennedy Range, and I'm planning a big one next year for a bit longer, Simpson Desert.
But it's definitely harder to do it that way, because if you do want to hit the road full time, these days, because it is so expensive, you almost do need, and most people do need to sell their home in order to fund that lifestyle of living on the road. Yeah. And there are so many people living on the road now that have done that. So yeah, I think it's hard to have them both.
Yeah, when we were talking about averaging $1,500 a week for travelling.
That's travelling. That's not a mortgage.
That's before your mortgage repayments, your rates, your insurance, your phones, your internet, your health insurance, all the rest of it.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, you could definitely rent out your house as well, but then you've also got expenses that come with renting. So, yeah. And
a level of risk that comes with that, your house getting trashed, and you got to pay to put all your furniture in storage. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough.
I like that we do things a little bit differently, and that's, we're happy with what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
All right, cool. Thank you for all those guys that asked us questions. We really appreciate your input into that. And hopefully we don't sound too blocked up and
nasally.
And nasally, because we are pretty crook. Next couple of episodes, you're going to see me coming home from Darwin. I'm going to try catch a barra while I'm in the top end. You end up booking me a couple of really cool camps, hip camps and that kind of thing. And then after that, the Kennedy Range series, and then hopefully we're building the 300. So some good stuff coming up.
Yep. So yeah, that was 6 weeks on the road, Perth to Darwin to Perth, home again.
Yeah, it
was great. We had a really, despite all of the underlying stress with Brodie's health, we still managed to have.
Oh, we had a great trip.
Time.
As soon as we came home,
we missed it.
We wanted to be back up there doing it again.
That's always the way.
Yeah. All right, cheers guys. We'll see you in the next one.